I recently got my first real job as a teacher at a public elementary school in a nearby neighbourhood. It was the first school year I was teaching, and at this point it was only September. So needless to say, I was still learning the ropes. It was honestly pretty stressful. I teach a first grade class of about 20 kids. So you can imagine how chaotic it would get at times, especially with my lack of experience. I remember one day I was in the middle of assigning the kids a worksheet for spelling simple words when the principal's voice came over the school's loudspeaker and ordered a lockdown. Now, being a new teacher, I wasn't yet informed of when the school had practice lockdown drills around the year. Therefore, I had no idea if this was a drill or not, but I knew either way I had to follow the protocol. I turned off the room's lights, locked the doors and windows, and had the kids sit against the wall out of sight. I'd say maybe 5 minutes passed of complete silence when I could faintly start to hear doors being banged and I could feel my heart start to race as the sounds got louder, as whoever was banging on the doors got closer. At this point, I still had no idea whether it was just the principal checking the classroom locks or an actual intruder in the school. My thoughts were interrupted by one of the students bursting out crying. It was too loud. There's no doubt whoever was outside would have been able to hear it. I could tell the banging outside stopped in response to the noise. Shortly after, followed by a single pair of footsteps walking up to the door. It was silent for a few seconds, but the silence was quickly broken by a male's voice yelling out, "Hey guys, I think there is kids in this one," and that confirmed this lockdown was real. More footsteps could be heard running up to the door. That's when genuine attempts to break down the door were made by multiple people. At that point, not a single kid in the class wasn't crying or screaming in fear. I didn't know what to do. I was never trained for this kind of situation. That's when 2 gunshots could be heard. But that didn't come from the intruders. The police were now inside the building. Right after the shots were fired, the intruders could be heard running down the hall. 30 minutes later, we were given the all clear. It turns out that the intruders were 3 local high school students. They were eventually caught, but asked why they did it, they would say close to nothing, although one of the kids claimed it was for a bet. But personally, I don't believe that for a second. No bet is worth going to jail over. I firmly believe they had much worse intentions. Although most likely traumatised, luckily no one was physically hurt. The shots fired by the police were claimed to be warning shots and were aimed directly into the ground. It's been 2 years since all this happened. I still teach first grade at the same school and even in the same classroom. And to this day, those bullet holes can still be seen in the school's hallway. Back in October 2016, for whatever reason, these killer clown sightings kept getting reported around America. Real or fake, videos of them would almost always get posted somewhere online. For that whole month, it was all over the news. I remember in our town specifically kinda got out of hand. People in the area were committing real crimes, wearing clown masks and sometimes even full body clown outfits. It was honestly terrifying. Anyway, back when this was happening, I was in high school. Throughout the whole month, many of the staff and student school emails received threats. They were always from a different random email address, so there was no real way of blocking them. It was always something like killerclown@cvx.zy or something random. It usually had something to the effect of killer clown followed by some random characters. It got so bad that the school had to send out a mass email to all students and parents saying they were aware of the threat and were taking them seriously. I remember some days the teachers were instructed to teach with their classroom doors locked. They weren't even allowed to leave to go to the bathroom. Needless to say, a lot of us were lonely. I have no shame in saying it was really scary. I saw some of the things the emails were saying. A lot of it was really graphic and truly disturbing. Of course, at that time, none of us knew if anyone was really planning to act on these threats, or if it was just someone somewhere behind a computer screen playing a sick joke. But honestly, it felt like only a matter of time before something would go down, and finally one day something would. I was in my trigonometry class when the school's lockdown alarm went off. The principal's voice then came over the loudspeaker. His voice was shaky. Now our principal was a pretty intimidating dude, so hearing fear in his voice only furthered my own fear. I knew this lockdown had to be related to the threats. In that classroom, there wasn't really a good corner for all of us to hide in. You could see a good portion of the room from outside the door, so our teacher ordered us to barricade the door, with all the desks and chairs in the room. We then sat as far away from the door as we could, although even this provided a clear view of the glass window on the door. I watched as all the lights abruptly turned off in the hallway, shortly followed by the lights in the classroom. The familiar hum of the heating system faded. The school had cut the power. It was eerie, the whole building was quiet, and there wasn't the usual whispering or joking around from the other students, like there would be during practice drills for this kind of thing. Even our teacher had a look of fear on his face, putting me more on edge. We sat there for multiple minutes. We then heard a metal banging sound like someone was hitting the lockers down the hall. The voice started yelling. The girl sitting next to me quietly began crying. These noises continuing on and off for the next few minutes. As time passed, the noises kept getting louder as whoever was making them seemingly kept getting closer. At this point, my classmates and I were staring at each other, all of us gauging each other's reactions, and the sound of the classroom door handle rattling. I looked up through the glass on the door. I saw a clown mask looking in. The person stood there for a while, not doing anything. And they roughly ducked down out of view, and the sound of the door handle rattling continued. They were trying to pick the lock. We all sat there listening to this happen when the lock disengaged. The full body force of this person smashed into the door. The desk barricading the door slightly shifted back. This happened a few more times, but not much progress was made. They eventually gave up, and we could hear their footsteps running away down the hall. When the police arrived, they cleared the building and escorted all of us out. No one was ever found responsible for the lockdown. It is believed that at least 3 people dressed in clown costumes entered the back entrance of the school that day, and making true to the threat sent over the email. At the time, the school did have some cameras, but during the lockdown they cut the power, so they never caught anything. School was cancelled for the next few days. When we came back, the school had installed new auto-lock features on the doors and windows. This happened to my friend when she was in middle school. She said it was in the early hours of the day when she decided to excuse herself to the bathroom. In the middle of her doing her business, the school's PA system chimed and announced that there is a lockdown and that it's not a drill. She said that her heart sank and she didn't know what to do. She was worried that if she ran back to her classroom, the room would already be locked and the intruder, or whoever it is, might spot her. That's why she decided to stay in the bathroom and crouched on the toilet bowl to hide her legs from the space underneath the stall. My friend said it was so quiet that time that she could almost hear her throbbing heartbeat. But she recalled the silence was shortly broken when the bathroom door flung open and she heard heavy footsteps pacing around. She held her breath at that moment, knowing whoever joined her in the bathroom was the intruder. She remained quiet for minutes, but it felt like hours to her. The silence returned after a while, and she thought that the intruder must have left by now. But then she heard someone say, "I see you." My friend's heart sank. She immediately looked up, and she saw a head peering at her from the stall next to hers. She said that the man had unkempt hair and his eyes were very red. At that moment, she screamed, and the man tried to reach for her hair. But because of this noise, someone else must have heard it and ran into the bathroom. My friend said she just covered her face, continuously screaming, while she heard some banging sounds all over. After some time, someone knocked on the door and said that she was safe. At first, she hesitated, but when she heard her homeroom teacher call out to her, she opened the door to her stall and ran to the teacher. It turns out that the intruder was a homeless guy who wandered into the school all drunk. Thankfully, no one was physically hurt, but my friend said she was emotionally traumatized by the encounter and that she wouldn't go to the bathroom unless she had someone else with her.